And here we go. We are back for another Sunday night show. Uh, it is a mixed group here. It is a special episode tonight. And we are previewing the 2024 Jackrabbit defense. We got Ben, Dallas, and Chad with us tonight. How you guys doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. You sound great with the new mic, Matt.
I have always had a mic. I just have a stand, so it's now in my face. Yep.
Copacetic. Getting closer sounds great. No, man, I'm good too. I was texting you guys earlier. My son starts fall camp tomorrow, so I'm kind of nervous about that. But no, otherwise, just kind of enjoying the tail end of summer here, I guess.
Just getting back from vacation, so went down to Iowa. Got to spend a little time with a former right guard's father. See Kurt Lickis a little bit down in Iowa. Had some good baked goods down there in Pella, Iowa. So everything's well.
Hey, that's good. Glad you guys are all doing well. Before we jump into the defense, got to thank our title sponsor and then our show sponsor for our special episodes. So title sponsor, Kubota Dealers of South Dakota. You guys know both Chad and myself are Kubota fans right now. Just mowed my yard today. Chad and I were just talking before the show started, and we know we got to change our oil probably before winter gets here. For me, it's a 100-hour mark. Chad, I'm guessing you're going to be right around 50, probably at that point. So
yeah, pretty close.
Yeah. So we got to get that oil changed. And Chad, you haven't done it yet, and you probably will have no problem with it. But for someone like me, super simple, super easy. Ben could even do it. It's just something about it. So stop by your local Kubota dealers. There's 10 of them now in the States, I believe. And one right across the border in Iowa, right, Chad? That's the deal.
Right across the border in Iowa. Yeah, they wanted to jump on. They forego being Iowa State and on board with that. So they're with us. They're on the South Dakota State bandwagon.
Yeah. And so anyways, talk to them. They'll hook you up with what you need, whether it's large machinery for your farm, or if you just have an acreage like us, need something a little smaller to help move snow and take care of your yard, that kind of stuff. So thank you, Kubota Dealers of South Dakota.
And you might think that was a read, that they had that conversation about changing the oil before they got on, but no, they actually had that lame-ass conversation while we were waiting to go live. So that's they live it, breathe it, they're in it.
And we also talked about hydraulic fluids, so change all your fluids and make sure you go with the authentic Kubota fluids.
Yeah, don't let Dustin Helton get in any free pub here. So, all right. Next up, we got to thank our newest sponsor, hot off the press this last week, Northwestern Mutual. Kevin Marshall, thank you. Our friends there with the connection last year with Alex's Lemonade Stand and Northwestern Mutual got us connected with them. So this past year, right, we know that Quentin Hicks, right, was an intern a summer ago for Northwestern Mutual. He's done playing football. He calls me this spring. He's like, Matt, how you sitting on retirement and life insurance and that kind of stuff? For me, I had life insurance, but it was a couple houses ago, a couple kids ago, and I was not in a good spot with life insurance. So I visited with Quentin and got connected. He hooked me up with a good policy that I feel comfortable with, that if something were to happen to me in the next few years, that my wife and kids would be taken care of. So I know it's a morbid topic to start off a fun podcast, but it's something that we all should be taking care of. So
absolutely,
get a hold of our friends at Northwestern Mutual. Tell them that the boys at Jackrabbit Illustrated sent you, and we'll be good to go there. But excited to have them on board. So thank you, Northwestern Mutual.
I mean, you got to replace the income from all your Jackrabbit Illustrated earnings somehow.
Yeah, right.
If you pass.
Gosh,
I don't know what to do.
I hope you accounted for those.
Yeah, right. We shouldn't talk about
10
that.
times, right? 0 times any other number.
Hey.
Indeterminate form.
What we may not get in earnings, we get in free beers. So this is a shout out to Kent at Duffy's in Montevideo for whenever you listen to this. Thank you for the free beer on Friday night when my wife and I were out on a date night. and you bought me a beer. So thank you
That's
very
so
much.
cool.
Kent. I appreciate that.
Is that just a Podfather thing, or is that a whole JI crew?
I don't know.
Let's test it.
I think he said
Unannounced.
the
Might have-
Podfather for Jackrabbit Illustrated. So if you guys go to Duffy's and Kent's there, I mean, maybe. I don't know. What do you think, Kent? All right. So enough about this. Let's get into the defense. What can we say about the 2023 defense? Let's go hot fire. Ben, what's one word about the 2023 Jackrabbit defense?
Outstanding.
Chad.
Reload.
What?
Dallas.
Reload.
Stifling.
Stifling.
Yep.
Yes. So
I
that's
said 23 last year, not this year.
Oh, I thought he said 24. Well, whatever.
We're preseason
We
form.
reloaded. We
He's
reloaded.
busy doing
We
producer
did.
things.
We did reload. We reloaded
Yeah.
with the same guys.
Yeah. So that 2023 defense season average of 9.27 points allowed per game. Insane. Carter Nold says historic. I agree with that, Carter Nold.
I'll take his instead. How's that sound?
They
Thanks,
reloaded
Carter.
in a historic way. Yeah. What else? What else can we say about this group? You can go more than one word if you want to.
I mean, all year I think the biggest thing was just the difficulty that teams had running on them. It was just, even when teams would try their best to do it, I mean, it didn't matter what they did. The defensive line just kept reloading. Linebackers kept subbing in and out. You had guys running sideline to sideline. It was just stifling, and to the point where they would have to pass, and when you make a team one dimensional, it gets really tough on them, because it almost felt like we didn't have to sell out on the run. We were just so stout on the run that we were just like, go for it if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
So that, to me, that was so fun to watch a team just be so confident in stopping the run.
Mm-hmm. 3.2 yards per game, or
Right.
yards per carry. Yards
Yeah,
per carry.
right.
Yep.
To my point, which reload, right? I think back to where we were at this point last year and some of the conversations we had about the secondary, and we really thought that potentially that would be a weakness. And maybe the year before we kind of called them out and tried to get them to play rough, or not rough, but play hard. And geez, they were better, right? They were better than the year before. And yeah, so I mean, they really did reload on the secondary for sure.
They did, and you get a chance to rotate that many guys through. I mean, the injuries that we had at inopportune times over the last 2 seasons, the guys that stepped up without any drop in production, it's just insane. I was trying to tally up, Ben was talking about, starting strong and just the way that we looked at the start of the season. I want to comment more on how they finished. I mean, the playoffs, I had to go back and tally it up because I couldn't remember, 146-15. Playing the best of the best in the subdivision. I'm actually waiting to do a half plug. I'm going to jump on a Oklahoma State podcast here in a couple weeks come game week, and I listened to one of them, and then they were giving us they're really good, but you're telling me that if we wouldn't put Oklahoma State into that, and they're probably going to listen to this here and prep for it, so I'm not saying anything ill of them, but they basically said, well, we'd run through the FCS. Well, okay, 146-15. I don't know what you call that, but I think we did. So no, phenomenal, 15 points in 4 games.
To that point, I mean, I think the defense was just in a league of their own last year, and it's tough. We had the conversations of how great were they? All time great. They're in the conversation. We talked about how you got to kind of see how some of the NFL talent pans out, but I mean, they got to be in the at least top 5 best FCS defenses of all time, and last year there was just no FCS team that was going to compete with them. Didn't matter what they had. And I'd be willing to bet that outside of the top 25 FBS, I don't think there's anybody that could have competed with them either. You would have had to be in the top 25 to have a shot at them. So they were that good.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Ben wholeheartedly. But one thing I wanted to point out is how we consistently said, no name defense. There was a ton of standouts, but at any given time, they're rotating through, like Dallas was saying, and there wasn't just one absolute all-star. They just all were like lunch pail guys. They brought it. It didn't matter which guy was in there. And I just wanted to add that. Sorry.
Yeah. No, so where I thought you were going originally when you said reload, Chad, was the loss of Caleb Sanders and Reese Winkleman, right?
Well,
Last year we sat here and we're like, man, those are two program greats, maybe our best defensive tackle we've ever had. And then maybe our second best defensive end in the Division I era, not named Danny Batten. Like maybe, now he arguably Reese may be better. I don't know, like toss up, right? But on that no-name defense front, Jason Freeman was our leading tackler with 105 total tackles. Right. Isaiah Stallbert had 80. Adam Bach had 65. Savian had 59. Like that's it. Like most teams have, their leading tackler is way up there. And ours just wasn't because we just rotated guys through so much. So, yeah. I don't know. You guys ready to move on to 2024?
Let's do it.
I think so. And there's nobody better to send us into the 2024 defensive season than Culver's of Brookings and Watertown. Game day isn't complete without a stop at Culver's. Whether you're celebrating a win or fueling up before kickoff, Culver's of Brookings and Watertown has you covered. Dig into their signature butter burgers or cool off with some frozen fresh custard. It's perfect for football in any weather. So before the game, after the game, take your whole team to Culver's and enjoy. And one thing I'm excited about, I haven't tried. Have you guys seen the new JJ Watt meal that they have?
Terry Vanderbeck posted it.
Oh, I can't wait.
JJ like forwarded his or liked his post or something on Twitter.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. Yeah. That'd make my day. The only thing, there's like nuts on the custard, so I'd go ahead and not do that. But everything else looked amazing. I don't know. I love some Culver's. I'm hungry.
Thank you, ChatGPT, for that amazing.
I put so much time into prepping today, Ben. I bet I put 2 hours into show prep today. How much did you put in?
That's impressive. More like 2 minutes.
Maybe Ben finally read my articles. Who knows?
I mean, he did work on his mic level, so that's
have
cool.
You guys heard how good Kobe Claiborne's going to be?
Freaking good. All right, where are we going to start here? We're starting with the big guys?
Yeah, Ben brought up Kobe Claiborne,
Love
so
it.
I think that's a good spot to start. So this group, we'll just start right away with who's back, right? The faces we know. Zach Wilson's probably the most experienced defensive end that we have coming back. But even he has just been kind of a rotation player the last 2 years. But he is being counted on to kind of be the senior, the veteran leader this year. And we'll see if he can step up and fill those shoes. After that, at defensive end, it's a whole lot of new for the most part. Levi Vandenbos is someone that's out there. Actually, we'll wait. So we got Zach Wilson. We got Blake Peterson. We've seen him before last year. He played the first handful of games before getting shut down for the season. He's originally from Beersford, played at Iowa State, and then grad transferred back to SDSU. And then Randy Cumone, super athletic kid from Tartan up in the Metro, Twin Cities Metro. He's just been plagued by injuries. Kind of was looked at as a pass rush specialist when he committed. And unfortunately, injuries have just kind of derailed him, but he's supposedly healthy now. We'll see. But those are the three guys that we should probably all know. So
you mentioned Randy K there, and I think in your article you said he's somebody we all can root for, and that's 100% true. So you've got Zach, and the thing that jumps out as we go through the list of the defensive ends, there's still a fair amount of experience. I mean, they've been in a lot of games. These aren't new guys, and then the couple that are new, I think definitely have the most upside as well. So I got actually much more excited, and I wasn't ever unconfident, but excited and confident in this group of DNs, the more that I dug.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think to that point, my excitement for this season is to see the guys that have been waiting in the wings. That we've had such amazing depth and recruiting, and just to see some of the guys that have been waiting for their chance to shine. You mentioned a guy like Blake Peterson, who, Matt, in your fantastically written article previewing the defensive line, I recommend everybody go read it. He's had some injury issues in the past, and a guy that Iowa State was really high on to start, and a guy like that who's just been kind of waiting to shine, and it'll be fun to see if this is his year or if somebody else steps up.
What's another thing again that's exciting is right now I think how it sits on the imaginary depth chart coming off of injuries. I mean, he might be third back there, but then if that's the case, you got him, you got Randy K, guys that have played. Randy's played in 25 games. Blake has played in 7 here, 28 at Iowa State. Like, as guys that are going to rotate in, at least to have that kind of depth and experience is impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it was honestly tough to keep track of who was all coming in on defensive line last year. I'd see a guy make a play and I'd be like, who is that? I'd have to look at the program and be like, that guy looks like a beast. Why doesn't he play more? Well, it's because we're so deep. And so, we've got guys to reload. And yes, reload will be a great word for 2024, Chad.
Yeah. Hey, and a couple guys I'm really looking forward to, though, are Levi Vandenbos, mentioned him, Dawson Ripperda, and then Reese Kirschenman. So those three I'm pumped about. Those are kind of new faces. We've seen Levi Vandenbos just a little bit before. But when I was talking to Coach Bibbs about the defensive line, he compared him to Caden Johnson, who, Caden Johnson would come in 53 last year, just kind of a spark plug, play with a ton of energy, run through a wall type of kid, just very consistent and does everything right. And Bibbs kind of said that Levi is just like that. So he will definitely be part of the rotation. I'm just excited to kind of see what he can do out there. The next guy, right, is Ripperda. And everybody from Northwest Iowa that's seen him play, whether it's whatever sport, just absolutely says he's a freak. I thought we started to see that last year at the beginning.
He got hurt, didn't he?
He got hurt. Yep. He got hurt right around the same time that Peterson got hurt. And I thought he was playing a little bit better than Peterson at the start of the year last year. I thought he flashed just a little more, in my opinion. So we'll see on that.
Watching him up close at the spring game, and just seeing he plays with a different speed. He's just really quick twitch, and he plays with a reckless abandon that it's going to be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they told me that Northern Illinois was sad to lose him, as a transfer. It wasn't a transfer you can't play here. It was his decision to come back home closer and be closer to friends and family. So, that's a good thing, right? If we're stealing a recruit from a MAC school, I guess.
Yep.
And I don't know. I just am excited to see him on the field playing live snaps from what we saw in the spring game and from what we saw from him last fall. So,
and then you got,
yeah.
Oh, I was gonna take it from you. Yeah, the last one there that before we move on to the D tackles, Reese Kirschenman, he, I think, in my opinion, I actually kind of broke down his tape. I remember back when he signed.
Yep.
And again, in my opinion, I think he probably has the highest ceiling on all these guys. Tremendous athlete, bends well, explosive, decent use of hands. And, to me, I think he's definitely somebody that's going to be in the conversation of an all-conference player, and if he keeps doing the right stuff, I think a national attention type guy. I mean, if they start getting him some more reps this year, and it sounds like the coaches are pretty high on him too.
Yeah, he flashed when in that blue-gray Army All-American game, whatever it is in high school that seniors go to.
Yep.
And I think in that game alone, he had 3.5 sacks or something like that. Just something crazy, in an all-star game, okay, that you're doing something. And last year, remember during the Coach Rogers show with Tyler, Jimmy would always talk about him, and he's saying, this is a young kid that we're really we got to get him on the field somehow. And when I was talking to Bibbs, Coach Bibbs, a couple weeks ago, he said they went round and round kind of as the season went along about getting him on the field as just a pass rushing specialist. So that's going to be kind of cool to see.
It makes sense, especially this year. You look at, I don't know where the stat production has to come from somewhere. We've got guys with experience, but outside of DePriest, there isn't anybody that's put up any big numbers on the stat sheet. Now I get it again. I'm the one that always lectures that D linemen can play a perfect game and never hit the stat sheet, blah, blah, blah. But it's, which is true, but again, it's going to have to come from somewhere. And I think he can put up a big piece of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Jared DePriest, he's one of the guys kind of been waiting in the wings. I mean, he's been definitely cycled in, but I'm excited to see him expand his role as a leader on the defensive line and see what he can do with it. I think he's just going to get more snaps, and I'm just excited to see what he can do there.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of talent that he hasn't even tapped into yet.
Exactly. You love DePriest. You're always high on DePriest, Chad.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's true.
It helps that his dad's a cool dude and hangs out with us.
That doesn't hurt.
Hey, so I mean, whenever I think of Jared DePriest, I'm going to think of him murdering the Missouri State quarterback 2 years ago, right? And planting him in the ground and then doing his like bow afterwards. Like, ooh, that is awesome.
That was when they were ranked number 5 in the country, by the way, Matt, in case you don't remember.
Right?
National FCS perennial power, Missouri State.
Yeah. But I did talk to Bibbs about him specifically for quite a while because DePriest, was one of our highest ranked recruits we've ever had. And as time just flashes this incredible athleticism for a man his size. And it just feels like, man, like, why can't he do that every play? And it's not that simple, right, Dallas? You played in the trenches, but Bibbs believes that he does have that All-American potential because there's few people that are that close to 300 pounds that can move and bend how he can. And I think one of the highlight videos from camp, right, got posted, and he, was chopping his feet through bags and stuff as this big, 300-pound man. And just making it look so quick and fast. Like, dang, like, how do you do that? I don't know. I'm just excited for Jared DePriest this year. Big fans.
His actual final year, or could he have another year after
he's
this?
Done. Yeah, done.
So he's done after this year.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So when you run down the potential depth chart at tackle, you got Jared, and I imagine we'll talk about Max Boone here next. So senior. Then you got Green and Claiborne, sophomore, junior behind that. So, there's some definite experience that we're going to have to replace after this year too. Not to talk about that already.
Mm-hmm.
No, and we got some up and coming guys. I mean, I like what I'm seeing from Bryce Hawthorne. That guy looks like he's going to be an absolute stud too.
It's Dallas's guy.
Am I stealing your thunder, Dallas? Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's all right. We got to work our way through.
No,
he's still young.
Go,
he's still a young pup. Let's Matt, what order you want to go through here? I'll let you take it.
Well, let's just talk about Max, right? Yep. So Max has been in the rotation for 2 years. I think the first time we saw him was the Iowa game, and we're like, Max Balloon, sweet, like because he had a good pressure on their quarterback, I think, early on in that game, and just showed some really nice things. Bibbs said he has just really taken on kind of a leadership role as a senior, a really stout run defender. So looking forward to that. He's a huge guy, right? Just a huge frame. Did he shift from defensive end to D tackle? I think he must have at some point in his career.
I think he put on the freshman 40, if I'm not mistaken. But because we run size wise, we got those guys 6'5", 6'4", 6'5" in the middle. They're 285, 290, but we do drop after that. So I'm curious to see how maybe having a little less size, unless I'm mistaken, behind them could be an issue at some point.
Mm-hmm. Behind them, Logan Green is there. They've been high on Logan Green for a couple of years. I believe former walk-on Green is. Again, a really stout, strong guy. Multiple coaches on both sides of the ball said Logan Green's the strongest guy in the team, pound for pound, besides maybe Angel Johnson. So that's awesome that Angel is right there as well. But again, super strong hands. Logan has a big wrestling background. He's going to be impossible to move off the line of scrimmage, they're saying. So that'll be fun to see too. So I'm looking forward to actually seeing Logan on the field a little more this year. I just think he couldn't get into that rotation last year very much.
Yeah, he didn't. That talking about last year's rotation again, talked about some of the, the rotational defensive ends still playing a ton of games. I mean, really off of Jared and Max, there's not much coming in that's been on the field. And then the other thing too that could take a little bit of a few games to get him up to speed is when you move back on a defense in your safeties and your linebackers, which we'll get at here in a minute. Those guys typically have been on the field on special teams for the first couple of years, whereas a D tackle probably isn't. So all that stuff does add up.
Yep. And Aaron Wolfkale has as well. He's been on the field quite a bit. Or maybe not quite a bit. That might be an overstatement. But he has been part of the rotation at times. And he's twitchy. He just has some injury. He just has some injury history with Aaron.
Yeah.
So
he's one of those guys that would come on the field and he'd make a play, a flash play, and I'd be like, who is that?
Yeah.
Because he just, he didn't have a whole lot of tackles and wasn't on the field a whole lot. But yeah, he's another guy that, probably has a lot of potential. Just got to put it together for a full season.
For the record, Logan is much bigger than I thought. He was listed at 6'4", 290. In my mind, he was shorter than that. So I am sorry, Logan. Please don't beat me up. You're a giant man.
Okay. All right. Ben, want to tell us about Kobe Claiborne now?
Oh, he is a transfer from D2 powerhouse Northwest Missouri State. He's got the ability to play inside or outside depending on the situation the defense is in. In 2 seasons for the Bearcats, Claiborne had 50 tackles, 15.5 tackles for losses, 10 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. Bibbs, who is the defensive line coach, said that he is very intelligent and has picked up the defense quickly. What he lacks in length, he makes up for with power. And if you like that, read off, check out Matt's defensive line preview on jackrabbit.illustrated.com.
Wondering where stat production is going to come from. I mean, he put up numbers last year, so it is very possible that's going to translate. I actually was in line with his dad at a camp this summer and met him. Very nice guy. He was not familiar with Jackrabbit Illustrated. I told him all about it, so hopefully he's listening to this.
Nice.
Yeah.
When I talked to Bibbs again, it'd been basically, watching, from their windows or tape or whatever they get to do summer stuff. Because Kobe didn't get to do spring ball. And so it's watching tape of him at Northwest Missouri State, and it's having the proper amount of hours and meetings that they get to have. And Bibbs is really excited about him. And since then, I think Borg has mentioned him, right? And the Brookings Register guys have mentioned him, and Zimmer's mentioned him as a potential standout, breakout kind of guy. So where there's smoke, there's fire on that one. He could be fun. So agreed. It agreed. All right. And then Bryce Hawthorne. Dallas, you want to talk about Bryce a little bit?
Sure, I would. I picked him as a breakout player. I tweeted it out the other day. Really like the way that he plays. He's quick off the ball. He's powerful. I think whether it's this year or next year, what impressed me with him between just some of the snaps that we've seen and the spring is I forget if I said this before, and I struggled maybe to spit it out without it sounding like a backhanded compliment, but you could see when he got in, like how physical and how good he was, but he was like, as you between it, when you're 18, when you show up, and when you're 23 or whatever, when you leave, there's a level of grown ass man that comes into play at some point there. He obviously wasn't there yet, right? He still looked like he had that next level of maturity, and to have the speed and the strength and the size that he had while still having a bunch of room to mature into that frame, like that to me is what was like, oh my God, this guy's going to be unbelievable. And we've seen some flashes of that. So I think he's going to be absolutely great. I can't wait to watch him.
When you mention and talk about growing into a man, I just realized I'm the only one on the show without a beard. And like, there's a pretty good glow coming from,
I
got some extra if you need,
Yeah.
For the record, I couldn't grow a beard till I was like 35. I apologize to my son for that one.
Yeah. Well, just hit 37, so maybe next year.
Don't worry, you'll be 40 someday.
All right. Good question here from Pat. Any talk of Marcus Hicks going back to the defensive side of the ball? I have not heard that, and I guess from the videos I've seen in pictures I've seen, he's been in the offensive line drills. Has anyone else noted that? Or
Dallas, what are you doing?
Freaking it's
You
hot,
look
dude.
like
I'm in this
you're-
little.
That's
Waff-
not what it looks like, my
Oh,
looks
friend.
like
I'm
you're-
sorry.
You hotboxed yourself.
Oh, no.
It.
No, I'm trying to cool it off because I don't have a
This
fan
is
in here.
B-team shenanigans
No.
here.
I mean,
Oh
you
my
can leave it
gosh.
open.
I've done this. I've done that. Well, no, but it doesn't like the air just sits. It doesn't. I can't feel it, and I don't want a fan because it's loud. I've done this almost every show that I've ever done.
I've seen you open it, but not like back
Oh
and forth.
no, I've done that. See, I'm sweating.
oh gosh.
All right,
All right.
what were we talking about?
I don't know. We're at
That's
half
good.
an hour in, and Ben's derailing
Bryce
us.
Hawthorne, and somebody needed to talk about.
Oh yeah,
coverage.
Marcus Hicks going back to defensive
Yeah.
side. No, last I heard, he's competing for a starting job on the offensive line.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Let's move on to Cubbies. Ben, want to talk about Cubbies?
Yeah. Check out. No, by the way, check out this sweet Cubbies T-shirt here. It says "Scared Money Don't Make Money," which is the name of our podcast and what Jimmy Rogers said one time. But yeah, Cubbies is the place to go in Brookings for a sports bar experience. They do have amazing nachos. I wish they would have kept the Italian nachos. We'll
Maybe
see
make 'em
this
bring 'em
year
back.
if we get a campaign going. Seriously though, they have amazing food, great place to watch any game you're looking for, and a great spot to watch Jackrabbit sports. If we're away, obviously. If we're at home, I'd prefer you're at the stadium. But Cubbies, thank you very much. We appreciate you.
And a great post-game hangout too, I might add.
Oh yeah. Was surprisingly the kids in college these days just don't know how good Cubbies is, because I went there. I mean, I'm old now, and so maybe I didn't stay out late enough, but Cubbies was didn't have very many people in it. So I recommend, if you're looking for a drink, go over to Cubbies. They got everything you need over there.
Agreed. All right. Who wants to lead us off with linebackers there? This is the easiest group.
I mean, I'll start.
I can. I was trying to get my notes pulled up here. Go ahead.
I mean, Adam Bach he's back.
An animal.
That's a pretty good place to start there. I mean, he's just the man. And what would be great to see if we can get a fully healthy season out of him, and really see him just let loose. He's just got all the tools that you need to be an All-American linebacker again. And I'm just really excited to see him play out with what I believe it will be his last season. He doesn't have any eligibility left, Matt. Just want to confirm that.
Yeah, he's
You're
done.
our
This is done. Yep.
eligibility guru.
Yeah, he's done. This is it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I fully expect this is him making his NFL draft campaign. He'll be putting film together for NFL teams, and I expect NFL teams to be checking him out this year because he's got all the tools to dominate this year, and obviously into the NFL as well.
Mm-hmm.
He did. So he's got 50 games worth of experience. I was curious because I couldn't remember with the injuries how that all panned out. So he's played 10, 15, 11, and 10 over the last 4 years. Fifth year of eligibility coming up here. His full season, the 15 games, had 125 tackles, far and away his most, 10.5 career sacks. And again, it's the same thing. Want to see him, stay healthy. And, speaking of that, it's like the safety group where we've had these inopportune injuries over the last couple of years, but it has not bit us because of the guys that can step up. And you look at, okay, so, we lose, a guy to the NFL. We lose a guy who probably should get a shot in the UFL, I would think for sure. And we replace them with a senior who's played in 53 games and another senior that's played in like 35 games at the outside backers. I mean, that does not happen. That's absolutely insane that we've got that kind of experience at linebacker.
Yeah. For me, I'm excited to see Graham Spalding and Caleb Francil get their shot this year. Heading into that Iowa game, we can't forget Caleb Franzel got the start over Stallbird in that game, right? And so did Graham Spalding. Graham Spalding got that start over Jason Freeman at Iowa. So those two can play some ball. The thing that's held Caleb Franzel back the last 2 years is his health. And Coach Bobbitt said he is healthy. He got his stuff cleaned up in the offseason. He's good to go, full tilt. And man, if we can get him and Bach running next to each other, that is a lot of speed at the linebacker position right there, just in those two. And we know what Graham Spalding can do, right? We've seen Graham Spalding, the physicality he brings for 4 years, however long it's been. So,
and he's kind of battled injuries too, So
Yep.
even though he's started 53 games, he's battled injuries and still been an absolute beast. So,
So I'm curious. Do you think we're going to see the exact same, schematically the same defense that we had last year? Because Stallbird was such a Swiss Army knife, and I know you like to use that for for H-backs as a description, but he's somebody that you didn't have to switch into a nickel package very often because he could get out in space and he could be a slot corner essentially with the way that he could run and move. And I'm curious if we're gonna have to move around more than that this year.
So it wouldn't shock me if we do some sub packages that are a little different this year. But when I talked to Menage, this will come up in safeties. Pete Menage is the safety coach. He said that majority of the time it was Tucker Large that was dropping down, taking the slots.
Really?
And that Tucker didn't get enough credit for that as a defensive player. And I know exactly. So that really surprised me when he said that. So I'm not as concerned. I'd have to go back and watch some more tape again to actually confirm that, but I'm just trusting Pete in that way too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I guess I didn't see it that way either.
Maybe
I just
better
assumed.
than us.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
A little bit.
So I don't know. But I do think there's going to be some opportunities. We kind of have Carter Knoll just said the guy I'm just going to talk about right here, Dayton McGoy, that they think Dayton can play either Sam or Will, either side. Dayton has a ton of experience too. How many games does he have, Dallas, in his career?
43. So again, to have a senior, backup, and all these guys that have sat around and waited for their turns. I just want to make sure that we consistently call out and appreciate that they stuck around. We've had guys playing special teams reps, waiting for their turns that could have transferred and started for 2-3 years somewhere else in the FCS, and they didn't. And to me, that's one of them where he could have gone out and chased, but he stayed, stuck with the program, took the opportunities that he had. And I hope Dayton has a great year.
Yeah, especially with him. I mean, looking at his history of games, weren't the majority of his games pretty early on? If I remember,
2 years ago.
2 years.
Who gets dinged up? I remember him like at UND, NDSU, like those games.
Graham Spalding got hurt, right?
Spalding, yeah.
He got the concussion. Wasn't that up at UND? I thought that's what that was.
Anyway, he did play quite a few games there for a stretch.
Yeah. Played quite a few games, and for him to be humble enough to have guys get healthy again and fill that backup role again, like you said, just kudos to him for sticking around, and really like to see him shine this year.
Yep.
And shout out to his dad, Preston. We know you're listening somewhere, probably Preston. So
Yep.
So
So working our way back through depth chart there. Let's move back to Mike and Cullen McShane, who showed some incredible flashes last year that again, he's got to be excited waiting in the wings, learning from, one of the best, if not the best, to play Mike at South Dakota State. But he's somebody that could step right in and be a starter in a lot of places right now. And if he does need to rotate in for any reason, I don't think we see any kind of drop off in production.
Yeah, it's really interesting right now, this competition for this number 2 Mike spot between Cullen and Joe Ullman. Cullen's hey, there we are, Preston. Cullen is a super good athlete out of Iowa. It's just taken a little bit for the defense to click for him. Where it sounds like for Joe, Joe maybe doesn't have the same type of athleticism, but has just really worked hard, been really diligent about getting down the scheme. And really there's, it's just tight right now. So they both might get a chance this year too when Adam comes out of the game. We'll see.
And if I'm not mistaken, Joe, he's a former running back and hadn't really ever played linebacker, right? So he's going to only get better as he gets more reps, I would imagine.
Yep. So we'll see. That's going to be interesting. That's just an interesting backup spot, right? For sure. Because I don't think Adam Bach's the preferred starter. We know that, right? unless
sweating it out.
Yeah. When you're that good. Right? Yeah. He's all over the field.
Yeah. Matt, tell me about Bryce Johnson. That is someone I really don't know much about, other than a sophomore, and he's played in all 15 games last year.
Yeah, so I love Bryce Johnson. You got when Jimmy talks about him, Jimmy calls him a cyborg, just because he's 6'3", 6'4", cut, 215, 220, just looks the part. Former Colorado State commit. That when Jay Norvell went in there and pulled all those scholarships, he was one of the kids that had his scholarship pulled. Came and visited Brookings. It was a great fit. Committed almost immediately, if memory serves correct. But just someone again that has had a lot of people in front of him. He's going to be a different looking type of what is that? Sam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had him listed as Will.
He's going to be a different looking type of Will, because, put him next to Jason Freeman, who was 5'10", 5.
That's generous.
Yeah.
I think that's generous.
And he's pretty dang fast. So we're going to see. I really like Bryce Johnson, but he has some pretty good competition from a new name that I learned about doing these interviews in Hudson Metcalf.
I've been waiting to hear about that one too.
So Colorado State Pueblo?
I thought it was Mesa. Colorado Mesa.
Okay, thank you.
I thought you had him as a Will linebacker.
Yeah, he's a Will.
He's a Will. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
He's from Alaska, which that's unique.
The Alaska connection again. But they said he came in and just was really impressive all summer. It was just a position they wanted to add someone with some experience. So when these seniors get out of here after this year, they have someone that's been on a college football field before. And they really liked him throughout the summer. And again, I think Zimmer brought him up, didn't he? In one of his
I did
articles?
not see that.
So I thought Zimmer brought him up once as someone that's like, interesting. So
I was curious. I mean, he put some stats up last year: 41 tackles, a sack, and a forced fumble with Mesa. So,
yep. And Mesa has been good in the past. They were pretty average last year, from what I saw. So, yeah. And then the other guy at the position for Will, Aaron Kusler, and Bobbitt, said there's no hesitation. Aaron can go in the game at any moment and trust him wholeheartedly. He's been in the program for so long. Aaron doesn't have the same type of athleticism that these other guys do, but he just knows the defense. He's a sound tackler. He knows everything he's supposed to be doing on his responsibility. We've seen him for a few years now in special teams, flying down the field, making plays. That's a solid group. That's a really good group of linebackers.
Yeah, I mean, I know I said it at the beginning, but you brought up special teams again, and that this kind of depth here, and we don't do a specific special teams breakdown. I think with offense, maybe we cover the specialists, but that's where the special teams and the athleticism and how good those have been the last few years. It is because we are deep at linebacker and deep at safety, and these guys that we're talking about now, that's why.
I do hope that Kusler still has the hair, because he makes the all hair, all FCS hair team. Do we mention
he could start on any Minnesota hockey team with that hair?
Well, we kind of mentioned Spalding, but you want to talk about Spalding? Yeah.
I guess, it's kind of crazy he's still here. I mean, it just seems like he's played so many games for SDSU. But yeah, he's been a guy that's been around a long time, got a lot of experience. Yeah, I mean, it's so nice to have a guy like that in your back pocket to be able to rely on at linebacker. I do have a couple questions, but I'm going to wait until let's go to the Sam position. And then I got a couple questions overall for linebacker.
All right. So Sam, again, we talked about Caleb. We talked about Dayton. Again, we just saw in the comments here, Carter Nold brought up Chase Van Tol. And Chase Van Tol, right? It was the spring spring game, spring season, spring ball. Darling's the wrong term, but kind of the star of it.
Yeah.
And Jimmy even said, like in his post game, like Chase Van Tol is going to be a good one. He's the next star linebacker for us, or something like that.
Pride of T, South Dakota.
Yep. So I'm excited to see this kid on the field in actual, like, real true snaps. We saw him do some cool stuff last year early in the season in some of the games on special teams.
He got his 4 whatever gimme games, whatever the heck we call them now.
Mm-hmm. So
for those that can't see, Matt is so excited about him that he keeps pounding his desk, and that's why the bass keeps coming through. So if you're listening now, you know why. But fun fact about Chase Van Tol, his dad and mom are both extraordinary beanbag players.
Is that who beat you?
They almost beat my cousin and I, who ended up winning the championship.
Gosh.
But they are very good. So shout out to his parents.
Wow.
Anybody else that we want to mention for depth there?
All that athleticism's got to come from somewhere.
I know, right?
I think we're good. Yeah. That's good.
You'd mentioned a couple of freshmen beyond that at Mike and Sam, Anthony Polano.
Yep.
Polano. And then, Kite and Fife.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the Anthony Polano, Bobbitt's really high on him. So that's exciting. We know Anthony has a ton of speed. He won't play this year, likely. He may get some 4 games. And then, at that the outside backer positions, Jack Nash, the former Alaska Player of the Year, just some tremendous speed. And then Karsten Reynolds from Washington, another 3-star recruit. Really big, really fast. Those are going to be some future studs. So just some couple freshmen just to keep in mind for down the road.
So before we move on from linebacker, number one, going back to Adam Bach where we started, I think this is a chance for him to cement his legacy as one of SDSU's best linebackers. We've had an embarrassment of riches at linebackers in the past. I think it was at Dallas. I think you said the other day that, when we saw, who was it back in the day?
TJ Lally.
Lally. There would never be anyone better than Lally. There's no way.
And since then, we've had just linebacker after linebacker. That's been amazing. So it'll be interesting to see what he does with this season, because I think that'll really determine where he falls in that hierarchy. But beyond that, I'm wondering who will emerge this year as the next great SDSU linebacker, because I think that's up for grabs right now. We had guys like Freeman and Stahlberg last year that were secure in their spots, but I think we've got a lot of questions coming into this year in the linebacking group. It sounds like we have a lot of talent, a lot of potential, but we know this is Bach's last year. Who's gonna kind of carry that torch forward as far as the SDSU linebacker being great linebackers at SDSU? Who's going to take that torch?
I was going to let you answer. I'm going with Colin McShane is my pick on that. Beyond that, I also have heard a bunch about Chase Van Tol. So I would say those two. Now, how much can we get them on the field? Because we're starting 3 seniors. You've got another senior at Sam behind that. It's going to be, snaps are going to be few and far between. So hopefully we can get up and get a little bit more of a rotation than we do sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that'll be the interesting part is that, will one of these young guys flash enough to take away a bunch of reps from one of the upperclassmen? So real excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah. I'm going with Chase Van Tol. I'm going to agree with Jimmy. So for no other reason than what Jimmy said so.
Perfect.
Inside.
Yeah. Hey, Chad, will you talk about Jackrabbit Central for us?
Wow, Jackrabbit Central. Can't find a better place to get your Jackrabbit gear, whether it's, shirts, not such as this one, I guess, but sorry. But shirts, hats, bags, bibs, they got it all. You need something to put up on your wall? Jackrabbit Central right there. Outside of anywhere else, they have the absolute best gear and the best selection. So hit them up for any of your Jackrabbit gear needs. You have 2 locations. You can either hit them up on game day. Well, actually, on game day they have 3 because they have the one at the stadium. But most days they have Jackrabbit Central downtown on Main, and then the one in the bookstore, or what we call the bookstore, in the Student Union. So Jackrabbit Central, also available on jackrabbitcentral.com. You can have your gear shipped to you if you're not local. So check them out.
Thank you, Chat GPT, for that read.
No,
that one was not ChatGPT.
No,
Just kidding.
Sorry, I'm wearing the wrong shirt.
Was...
I grabbed it, fully expecting it to be one of my. Because most everything I have is
drunk ChatGPT.
Drunk ChatGPT.
I've got the.
Did you say drunk Chad GPT?
It was Chad GPT. Yeah.
Oh no! AI JIAI is Chad GPT.
Oh, Ben, that's a new segment.
What's
Chad
that?
GPT.
Chad GPT. Oh
Yeah.
boy!
Nobody wants that.
Jackrabbit Central, you deserve so much better.
No,
Dallas.
Just to finish Jackrabbit Central, the Discount Den is the best. I check that out every time. They've always got awesome stuff in there. If you're like me and you like a good deal, and then they've always got the new stuff too. But moving on, next position we're going to talk about is corners. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to start?
Well, first we have to start before we get into this because Dallas Beanham is likely going to set the interception record this year.
Right.
True. But Dallas, need to say congratulations to your dad, Charlie.
Thank you
for the election to the Jackrabbit Hall of Fame. So good job, Charlie.
Yep.
Well deserved, sir.
Yeah. Yep. Got to
Great
talk to him
player,
last
even
year.
better man.
Exactly. Talked to him last year at tailgating. That was really awesome. And cool guy, great guy, and glad to see, it's easy to see how you turned out. So yeah.
And
what
he's
what
such
game
a
is
class.
that going to be? Where he gets honored?
The 14th. It's the Augie game. So the ceremony's at 10 a.m. or something like that, and it must be a 6 o'clock kickoff. I don't know what time the game actually is, but yep, week of the 14th. So sold out game right away. Hotels are all sold out. Should be packed house, and very proud and very excited. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So
Charlie's such a great dude that when I asked him about that record, he's like, "Yeah, I hope he breaks it." He was excited for him. So
yeah, it's time for it to be broken. I think is what he said. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah. So anyways, so the guy that has a good chance to break it this year is Dallas Beanham, entering the season with 13 career interceptions. Dallas is someone that's, I think we've really liked for the last 3-4 years, however long he's been playing now for us out of Omaha. When I talked to Coach Banks about Dallas, he just couldn't say enough good things about him. How he's taken on the leadership role with Dyshawn gone, even with Malik, from a couple of years ago. Like Dallas is just the guy, the leader in the room. He's working super hard. He has NFL aspirations. He really wants to be there in a training camp next year. I really appreciate, we're kind of seeing the national attention finally catch up to Dallas, because I think we all have believed that he should have popped up on some of these lists the last couple of years.
I had that same note that I was surprised that it's taken as long as it has to feel like he's getting the recognition that he deserves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. It's going to be a big year for him. Yeah. What, Chad, was that? Say it louder.
I say he just has a nose for the ball. I mean, you saw that like the very first game he played, he got an interception. He got him right away, and he's always there. He's such a ball hawk. He's fun to watch play because he really plays loose, and gosh, he's got great speed.
Mm-hmm.
So then behind him, you've got Stephen Orell, who, if you're going to create a player for a cornerback, that's what you would create. I mean, the dude looks the part. I'm excited to see him put a full season in and really see what he can do.
6'3", 195. That's great physique.
Yeah, I mean, just in long too. He's just got got all the tools to be.
I wonder
really,
what his
really good
wingspan is. He's rangy.
Yeah,
That's a good question. I might ask that someday.
Do they do that? I wonder.
Oh yeah.
I imagine for the scouts, but like, I don't know if we do that. Do we do that for our own players, like for our own notes?
I'm trying to remember if SDSU does. Most camps, even when they bring kids through, they'll do wingspan, and a lot of them do hand size and everything. The whole nine.
Well, I understand that when you're bringing them in, but what about mid? Because these guys grow.
Well,
yeah, we should ask Coach Jacobs that sometime.
It's a good question. Yeah. You'd be.
Yeah. All right.
I love these
behind
on-air
him,
production meetings.
right? It's preseason. Behind him, Miles Taylor filled in last year. Once Steve got hurt, Miles did a really good job. Miles is a player that the coaches have loved for years. It's just been health. They haven't been able to keep him healthy for a full season, a full off season, a full training camp, whatever it is. Our buddy Tanner was at camp right last summer, and Miles made just this ridiculous interception right in front of one of the Yankees that turned everyone's head. And I guess he made multiple plays, maybe not to that level, but very good plays throughout the training camp last year. And then he backed it up. And I know that heading into the Montana game, because one of the guys was hurt. I don't know if Deshaun was a little dinged up or whoever. Even against Albany with their stud receivers, they got two of those guys in NFL training camps right now. Miles had to play a ton that game. Is Miles going to be able to hold up? No issue, right? Neither of those games. So Miles Taylor has played some huge snaps for us in the last season, and I'm not worried about him at all if he has to get on the field. So
no, I feel as confident about these four cornerbacks as I ever have as a South Dakota State fan. Beanham, NRL, and then Taylor, Kobe Humphrey, who we'll talk about in a second here. Just having four guys that have played so many snaps, senior, junior, senior, on your two deep at corner, like that is such. I got to imagine as a defensive coach, defensive coordinator, that's got to help you sleep really well at night, knowing you got that in your backfield, your secondary.
Yeah, right. So he brought up Kobe Humphrey. Excited about him. Joins us from Northern Arizona. Had a nice career in Northern Arizona. Played 2 years of actual ball down there. Played 4 games last season before stepping away from them. Just knew it wasn't working. And so I'm really excited to see Kobe. He looked good in the spring game. Physically, he really looks the part. In the Big Sky, that's a pass-happy conference. He knows how to hold up in the passing game. Banks said that he worked his butt off this winter, this spring and summer with Coach Jacobs, and has really got himself in terrific shape. We'll see what that looks like, I guess, here in a few weeks. So excited about Kobe Humphrey, I guess, to add to the room. Anyone want to talk about Jalen Lee or Aiden Dotterman? I feel like one of you guys is fans of both. No?
Definitely worth talking about either one. Jalen Lee, it's surprising to me that he's only a sophomore because I feel like he's been around for so long. I don't know, hear different things, but he only played in a few games, but excited for him to start getting a few more reps because he's going to have to be ready to step up next year. Aiden Dotterman's, played quite a bit of ball. That's somebody too that I can't speak for the coaches, but I got to imagine if he needs to be on the field, nobody's going to be scared of that either. Right.
Mm-hmm.
He's played some big snaps. And then names you had below that, Abe Hoskins.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you say Noah's last name? St. Just, I think. St. Just.
He's Canadian, so I'm guessing there's some French in there.
It's probably metric. I got to look up the.
Have
you used on the website, actually, if anybody's ever wondering how to pronounce a name, they've got a handy little thing where the guy actually says their own name, so you know how to pronounce it. And I've not done it for Noah, and I should do that.
Oh, I was really hoping you were going to do it so we could hear it. Shoot. All right. So a couple things there.
I was trying to drag out what I was saying to find his name, but I couldn't do it long enough. I tried really hard.
So the Aiden Dotterman, right, has played a lot of snaps for us, especially on special teams over the last few years. I really think he is the next big thing once these older guys move on next year. A lot of potential. Banks said that for him, it's really just about being consistent, week to week, play to play. He has all the talent there. Uh-oh, we're getting some feedback all of a sudden.
Dallas is trying something. Here,
I did double check. It is
Noah
St.
St.
Just.
Just, Montreal,
Yeah,
Canada.
he's there. You got it.
Noah St. Just,
There you go.
Montreal, Canada.
St. Juiced. I was trying to do that too, and it gave feedback. Sorry, guys.
That is pretty cool that you can do that. I did not know that.
And that sounded like their actual voice saying it too.
It is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cool. That's cool. All right. And Jalen Lee, Abe Hoskins, and Noah then, they just need to stay healthy, right? I believe Jalen and Noah both missed spring ball with injuries. And Abe has been on the roster now for a long time and hasn't stayed healthy, but he did stay healthy this spring. Tremendous athlete, tremendous high character player is what Banks said. They'd love to get him on the field this year. And if he's healthy, he'll play at some point. So, yeah. So safety. Before we move on to safety, we got to shout out our own merch a little bit. So if you would like to get your Jackrabbit Illustrated apparel, go to our website, jackrabbitillustrated.com, hit store, and you can get sweet Jackrabbit Illustrated shirts. Got them in blue. We got them in black. And if you would like the blue ones, we have some left over from Frisco still. So DM me or send a message, whatever. Facebook, email, Twitter. Twitter will make it hard for you to get a hold of me.
Yeah.
But if you would like to buy a blue shirt, yeah. If you'd like to buy a blue shirt, talk to me first before you actually buy it. And also, if you would like to purchase one of the white checkerboard flags from last year, was it 2 years ago?
Which
Yeah,
are
2 years ago.
sweet, by the way.
The white JI ones. Let me know. We have 25 of these that we ordered this off season. So we'd love to, just a bigger model of that. Chad is that my car flag, Chad? I want that.
That would be your car flag.
So-
Yeah. That one.
All right. That one's not for sale, folks.
That one or this one.
Okay.
So one of them's mine.
Or those are full size, and Chad is actually the size of Hagrid, and you just don't know.
Yeah, Dallas. That's a running joke Dallas has for those who don't know that I'm actually Hagrid.
That's awesome. All right. Safeties. Take it away, guys.
I mean, it sounds like a group that Jimmy's real excited about. The whole team's real excited about. You talked or you kind of read some of the stuff that Zimmer puts out. He really hypes the safety group up, and the stuff that Matt puts out, of course. But no, it's a deep group. It's going to be tough to get all these guys snaps. I mean, because we've got so many weapons at the safety position that, I think like Matt alluded to earlier and we've done in the past, you're going to see more than two safeties on the field at once in multiple packages. So, I mean, I guess we can start off with, the two seniors, Kale Reeder and Colby Herter. These are guys again that it feels like they've been here for quite a while. Is just to clarify, is Reeder, is this his actual last year?
Yeah.
And does Herter have one more potential, or is he gone too?
Because he played as a true. Yeah, so they're both gone.
So they're both gone after this year. But yeah, both have contributed a ton, and both super consistent. I mean, behind them, there's a bunch of young guys that we'll get to as well. But these two guys, I mean, if this is, what we had, and that was, kind of it with not much behind them, you'd be happy.
Mm-hmm.
But we have an embarrassment of riches at safety. And I'll let somebody else take on from there.
Who's going to talk about the All-American?
Tucker Large.
Yeah.
Hey, I had a unique Tucker Large moment the other day. I'm sitting talking to Kibby McCormick at her place of business, and somebody come up and took my plate, and it was a lady who I'd never met, and I just talked to her briefly, and she says to me, "Do I know your voice?" And I was like, maybe. She's like, are you Jackrabbit Illustrated? You're Chad. And I was like, holy cow. Yeah, I am. What a nice lady. Wonderful. I could see a lot of him and her when he gets interviewed. He's a great interview. She was great to talk to. And
So it was Tucker's mom?
Yeah, it was Tucker Large's mom.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't clarify that enough. My bad. Yeah, man, he's so good at this position. We're so lucky to have him coming back again after this next year, as far as I understand. And he's so fast. Yeah, I heard I think he's returning punts again, is from what I understand. So can't be more happy about that either.
Yeah,
so.
Same. And the first few times he returned gave me heart palpitations because I'm typically really conservative when it comes to returning punts, right? Like I'm the guy yelling, get away from it, from the sideline. But he clearly has shown that he can do that and there is no danger in it. And, in large we trust with his decision-making back there because, God, he's fun to watch.
It's kind of the second coming of Paul Onenson when it comes to punt returns.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right. Fearless.
I mean, the cool thing about Large is obviously and the ironic thing is that he's not a very large person.
Yeah.
And, you see him out there and you're like, what is this kid doing out there? He's not going to make a big impact. And then he's just like one of the most explosive players on the field. He's got so much packed into a small frame that, like we said about Dallas Beanham, Tucker seems to have a nose for the ball. He seems to always be around the play. Even if it's not his guy making the catch, he's just in the play no matter what. So again, awesome to have him as, number 3 on the depth chart, whatever number he's going to be. I mean, one of the top 3 guys. It's just, again, an embarrassment of riches at safety for us.
Mm-hmm. And, same kind of thing, Ben. When he played in 2022 and he was filling in at linebacker and he was playing some safety and he ended up end of the season like all newcomer team for the Valley. And I'm like, I don't get it. And I mean, it's just the same thing. He just doesn't necessarily look the part, but man alive, when the play goes live, it's crazy. He's easily one of the best players on the field. It's hard to believe that he was a walk-on, right? He's on scholarship now. But man alive, like kudos to the coaches for continuing to find these players over the years, mind these relationships, and get these kids that come in as walk-ons that eventually evolve into these All-American players, right? Like it's just nuts that this keeps happening.
Another great player from Roosevelt and Sioux Falls. We get some real all-stars out of there. And so if you're playing at Roosevelt and you're really good, you need to play at South Dakota State. Come on up. Even as a walk-on, we'll get you a scholarship.
Hey,
this segment brought to you by Roosevelt All-Stars.
I went to Washington on the other side of town. I'm just, I'm a McCormick fan. Tucker Large falls right in there with him. So
for sure.
Hey, got to talk about my guy next, Matt Durant's Juice, they call him, from Florida. And he is a big safety, right? He has that Cam Chancellor size at safety. And they say that he is one of the fastest guys on the team, has the fastest flying 10, flying 20, whatever it is. Not 100% sure. But when he's healthy, he's dealt with injuries. That has been his issue. But man, last year he's the one that had the blocked punt in Villanova, and he is the one that really limited Montana's amazing punt returner. Him and Dante flying down as the gunners in his face
Gilman,
every time. No, not Gilman. I forget his name. Starts with a B. Doesn't matter anymore. But anyways, like he just has this presence, this ability. He's big. So again, we have these 4 guys. Bergen. There we go.
Junior Bergen.
Junior
You're
Bergen.
right.
Yep.
Sorry.
All right.
Both Dallas and I were typing away.
I was. I still wouldn't kick to Junior Bergen, but go ahead.
So anyways, I'm excited about
love
him.
our guys. I trust him.
The next guy that I mentioned there was Dante Johnson. Again, a former Colorado State commit, right? He had his scholarship pulled by Norvell when Norvell went there. Dante landed in Brookings. Happy to have him. Was playing as a true freshman, then broke his leg, which maybe turned out to be a blessing because it saved him a year of eligibility. That sucks, the rehab and all of that stuff. But he's going to have now a couple more years to play for us. Last year, it took him a little bit to get going, Pete said, recovering from that leg injury. But, man, once he did, he looked good. I know Pete feels like any of these guys could start in many places across the country, and Dante is definitely one of them. Very talented, very good spring. And I think in the spring game, I wrote this in my spring game notes. There was a pass across the middle that, I forget who threw it across the middle. And Dante could have just leveled the receiver, like knocked him out. It would have been a knockout blow, probably a flag at some point, but he pulled up and didn't hit him. And I think it was Dane was the receiver. Didn't hit him, put his hands up, but you knew that he was there. He could have delivered a devastating blow, and in a game he probably would have. But just maturity is what I'm getting at there. Like, for being still kind of a young player, to have that kind of maturity to take care of your teammates, but still know that, hey, I could have made this play. I'm looking forward to seeing Dante get in the rotation this year for sure. Next two guys, younger guys. I'll just keep going, guys, here.
Okay.
Colton Tilford and Noah Thompson. Remember that game against Western Oregon where Colton Tilford had 2 interceptions basically in back-to-back plays in the end zone?
That's right. Yeah.
The one got called off for a penalty, or they said his foot wasn't in or something like that. Phenomenal player. They're really excited about his potential. They think special teams for this year. Size is potentially always going to be a bit of a limiting factor for Colton. He's a little smaller, on the smaller side, even smaller than Tucker. But, man, he is lightning in a bottle. So he'll be fun to watch develop this year and in future years. And then Noah. Noah's really settling into safety after playing at Brandon Valley on both sides of the ball, quarterback, running back, and safety. They really like his future too. Very smart player. They think it has a bright future in the room. And then the 2 incoming freshmen they love, Trey Flowers and Max Stannard. So,
Trey
really excited
Ridley.
about those 2. Trey Ridley. Yeah, thank you. Not Trey Flowers. That's someone else. Trey Ridley.
Circling back just for a second, when you were talking about, was Matthew Durant's, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said he's a big, fast dude. Could he be a future kind of Stallbird, that hybrid type, you think? Because I think you mentioned something about him being almost linebacker in size.
Yeah, I think there's a chance for some sub packages with him, and I love thinking about that with the tight ends that are in the league this year with Galbraith and Galbraith and Stoffel. Jeepers.
Stoffel.
Yeah. Yep. And then Southern Illinois has a good one coming back this year too. There's some really good tight ends in the league. And so could Durant's be used in some situations like that to match up with some of that size? So we'll see. I don't know.
I like it.
Also circling back on this comment, Dustin apparently used our JI flag for a shower curtain. I'm going to request that we just start having like JI shower curtains made, because I would
awesome.
put one of those up in my house.
That's an idea. Yeah, good idea.
I like that.
I think it would make it literally design-wise an excellent looking shower curtain. I really like the last
100%.
Let's go to Pat's question here. So this is a good one, Pat. So do you see any freshmen burning the redshirt season to help the team on the field? No, I really don't.
Nope.
If it were to happen, though, I think potentially it is going to be JR Laconia, from Omaha. The kid's a freak. Played down in Omaha. He was Super State. He was the All Metro, whatever it is down there. Jesus, no. Okay. He's a tremendous player. And he has a really bright future. defensive end is just that position where injuries have kind of racked up over the years. We know it's physical. We don't necessarily want a freshman to be playing along the defensive line, but he appears ready.
Well, it's that, and then also just the way that we rotate them too is where that would lend itself to potentially burning a red shirt, and still getting some production out of somebody, but not having it be a waste because they're going to get enough reps. You look at every other position, Pat, up and down the defense, and we're 2.5 deep at every other position, right? So it doesn't mean that something couldn't happen, knock on wood, but it's highly unlikely. And even once you get into the linebacker core, we covered a couple guys that could play multiple positions there. So that in itself just makes it highly unlikely. Now, again, at defensive end, we've rotated as much as 3 deep at all 4 positions. So, we need 10 to 12 guys ready to go. So there's some reps potentially to be had there. It's so, the whole thing's physical. It's Division I football, but on the line, talking about just that difference between being even a stud 18 to 19-year-old going up against a grown ass man that might have a kid across the line from you. Like, that is a different thing, right? Like you could have unbelievable measurables, be super strong, but there's still just a level on the line that it takes a little bit to get used to.
Mm-hmm. And with that, at defensive end too, Sam Watts out of Iowa is another player that incoming freshman that could see time. Super explosive. He was a state champion thrower. Just a really, really good player. Again, though, like Dallas just mentioned, going to need some time to put on that freshman pounds and muscle and just adjusting to the physicality of the Missouri Valley Conference. So, yep.
Got to be careful with those freshman pounds. The stretch marks will get you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the great question, Mr. Whitty.
Scott Rust, is there any FCS team with this much depth? It's hard to say. We don't study the rosters as much. Looking at Montana State's roster, they have a lot of depth coming back.
That'd be a good question for the gentleman out in Montana. Yeah.
I'd like to hear. Oh, there you go. I was going to ask Rev what his opinion was. Rev said no. It's to me this year. We've talked about this in a couple other pods, but it's Montana, North Dakota State, South Dakota State. To me, I'm not going to get offended if you rank them 1, 2, or 3 in any particular order, because I think there's tremendous depth and skill. And then, yes, Montana State specifically at the lines, they bring back at least the best returning lines in the FCS this year.
Yep.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but one thing we've seen, and we mention it a lot with a lot of these guys, is that they've had injuries. And I think that, it's been amazing that we've still had the production that we've had with as many injuries as we've seen, which is a kind of a testament to the depth that we have. And so I think with any other team, if they would have had as many injuries as we've mentioned, they would have struggled a lot more. And so, yeah, it's clear that it is a very deep team that way.
All right. So the last thing I want to do is kind of make a prediction for a breakout guy on the defensive side of the ball. So if you had to choose one of the guys we've talked about that's not Adam Bach or Dallas Beanham or Tucker Large or Cale Reeder, who would you guys choose as a breakout guy?
Breakout.
You know what? I thought about this earlier, and I so should have been prepared. And once you get off of the line, any name is going to be a name that we've heard a bunch before, and it doesn't feel like it's a stretch.
I got to go with my guy, Kobe Claiborne, that I learned about.
I'm actually, that's what I was thinking. Dude, that's what I was thinking about. So now I can't take Kobe. Somebody, you know what? I'm going to go with Reese. Somebody's got to get some pressure on the quarterback this year. It can't all come from linebackers, and the defensive line can't all be gap control. So, all right, I'm going with Reese. Get after it.
I'd really like to see, even though he's a known product, I'd like to see Randy Kay kind of have a breakout season. We know what he's capable of, but consistency due to injuries not really been there. So I'd love to see that.
Man, I was going to go with Reese, but to be a little bit different,
You can copy me. It's okay.
No, I'm gonna stick with Jimmy. I'm gonna stick with Jimmy and go with Chase Fantle. Yep. Yeah. Somehow he's gonna get on the field. I don't know how, but yeah. All right. So we got Zach Wilson, Vanden Boss, Dante Johnson, Dawson. I like that one for Dawson too.
Ooh,
Yeah. Yep. I want to say Dante Johnson, but he's gonna have a hard time getting on the field with all the guys in front of him. So I'm going with McShane. Ooh, that's not Seth. I don't know about that though, because then that means Bach got hurt again. So all right.
I mean,
we'll see.
We're just going to find ways to get our athletes on the field. We have a great coaching staff.
Exactly. Hey, this has been super fun, everyone. Need to thank our sponsors one more time. So Kubota Dealers of South Dakota, Northwestern Mutual, Culver's of Brookings and Watertown, Cubby's Sports Bar and Grill, Jackrabbit Central, and then our other one's Blue Tide Car Wash. So thank you very much for sponsoring us. We really appreciate it and your support of us. If you had fun listening to this, share us, tell a friend. You know, there's still people that don't know about the good stuff that we do. And then invite them to next week's show, 8:00 again, next Sunday. We're going to be previewing the offense. So we'd love to have you join us again. Anything else, guys? Any parting shots?
A lot of great pods out there for you guys to check out. You know, if you follow us on Twitter, you'll see us talking about them. So Sam, one of the best. Got Zach, Blue Bloods, doing his thing. Rev's got his own podcast again this year. It's a new podcast, the Southland Sermon with the Revs. So it's about all I'd like to mention, I guess. He wanted you to come on his podcast for the SLU game. I don't know if you saw that, Matt.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
Anything, Dallas, Ben?
I got nothing right now. I was trying to work on a little bit on tailgating for the Oklahoma State game, which we'll have more information on that. If you've looked into tailgating for Oklahoma State, you will realize that it's not very organized, other than obviously the money grab one where they want a bunch of money for them to set up a tailgate for you. Our plan is to find a spot that will generally some of us will be at, and we'll encourage anybody that is going to meet down there to meet up with us and tailgate together. But we'll have more details on that to come.
All right. And with that, thanks for tuning in, everyone. This has been super fun. Get back at it again. With that, go big, go blue,
Go
Go
Jacks.
Jacks.